screen bigger?
I think it just gives you the option to share videos.
Yeah, we won't do that. Okay.
I think
I can try and see from my end if there's a way I can.
You hover over the screen, the
towards the right
portion that has us, and there's a little full screen button pops up in the bottom right.
Look at that. Oh my
Oh,
God.
there you go. See, Mo knows this a lot better than I do. I'm still
I
new.
got it.
I know, that's why we have.
That's why we keep her around.
Thanks,
She's a
Mo.
techie person.
the first time we were using this, that's when that voice said stop to me.
Yeah, that was Rachel's first paranormal experience.
Yes,
So we'll have to tell you guys about that. StreamYard for the win. But hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of the Ghoul Friend Hour. I'm your host, your ghost host, Morgan Fezza.
And I am the most a ghost, Rachel Faust.
And today, drum roll please, we have DSGI in the house. So I'm going to hand the torch over to you, starting with Gina and Andy. I'm going to have you guys introduce yourselves, and we'll kind of just go round robin, and we'll meet the team. Some of the team.
I'm Gina. I'm the president of DSGI, and I have been on the team since 2009.
I'm Andy. I'm vice president. I've been on the team since 2013.
And I'm Mo. I've been on the team since 2010.
And I'm Kyle. My title is secretary, even though I hate that title. But
Take notes, buddy.
geez, I think I joined in 2011, so 13 years.
Wow, that's absolutely amazing.
I forgot
So
I'm treasurer.
Yeah, Maureen's our treasurer.
awesome.
Just one rando here.
Yeah, Maureen's just.
I love it. I love it. So I guess since you guys have been here for such an amazing amount of time, let's get into how this started. I mean, let's go from the beginning. How did DSGI become DSGI, and how did you guys find one another?
Well, DSGI wasn't
Tinder.
our original name. The team came about in 2005 under our old team name of Delaware Ghost Hunters. And then I joined the team in 2009. And by the time I joined, we were kind of changing. Some old team members stayed on for another year, then some left for family reasons. And that was right around when we starting the planning of the paranormal tours out at the fort. So in 2012, we decided to rebrand our name because the team was growing. And we just felt it was time for a change. So we changed it to Diamond State Ghost Investigators in 2012. But we've actually been in existence since 2005.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. So Kyle and Mo, how did you guys find the team, and what made you want to join?
Go ahead, Mo.
My sister was on with me at the time. Well, we went to the very first tours that they did. We were Delaware Ghost Hunters then. Did the fort, and then we were like, well, we want to join. So we waited, and then that following summer they recruited, and that is when we joined. She's no longer on the team, but I have been there since early days.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the same story for me. My wife and I got tickets for one of the paranormal tours at the fort. And, I really became fascinated with it, and I loved everything. Like, it was cool seeing activity happen right in front of me, as opposed to like watching a TV show. But I have a big skeptical side, so it's not that I didn't trust it, but I wanted to be in control of the investigation. So that was one of the main drivers for me joining the team. But yeah, I've always been fascinated with the scary stuff. And
No.
I love that. So I have you guys always been like, have you always been fans of the paranormal? Like, I know Kyle just kind of touched upon that. You said you've always loved the scary stuff. Is that how this kind of started for you guys? Like, long ago, maybe you had an experience, or maybe you liked watching the ghost shows. Maybe Halloween was your favorite holiday, but like, what really caught your attention with the paranormal that said, hey, I want to really look into this and find evidence that there's something after we're gone?
For me, actually,
Yeah.
I was flipping channels one night and I saw something said ghost hunters, and I was like, the heck is that? Because I've always kind of been fascinated by ghosts, but never honestly thought too much about them. And I watched Ghost Hunters and I was like, I didn't know this was something people did. I'm like, this is the coolest thing. And I talked to a friend of mine, and we were actually going somewhere, and he and I were just like, "Bap, bap, 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 bap," the whole time, like, I can't believe this. And I'm an artist, is what I do for a living. And I was doing the Brandywine Arts Festival, and the guy 2 booths down from me was actually Gina's husband, and he's wearing a Delaware Ghost Hunter shirt. And I was like, what is that? And he goes, oh, you got to go out to the fort. They're doing this boat. And I was there. I took my next door neighbor, and off we went.
Yeah.
And I did it like 3 years just with the public. And I'm like, I got to get on this team. I'm like, I love doing this stuff. That's how I got in there.
For me, I didn't grow up like in a haunted house or anything like that. Knew nothing about the paranormal. My parents were devout Catholics. My dad was an Italian Catholic. My mother was an Irish Catholic. There was no conversation about paranormal or ghosts. There was only one ghost, and that was the holy one.
Guy with the holes.
And so
Charlie Brown.
we didn't talk about the ghost. We didn't talk about anything about paranormal. But when I was about 15, my grandmother had passed away, and she was in a hospital, and she was 89, and she just, died of natural causes. And in her last day or two of life, she just kind of went into this real deep sleep. And my cousin apparently had gone to visit her. And unfortunately, my grandmother was not able to open up her eyes or even speak, which I didn't know any of that. I didn't know my cousin was there. I didn't know what condition my grandmother was in, because I knew she was bad and I knew she was dying, but that's all I knew. And so I had this dream about her, like right after she died. And she came to me and she said, your cousin came to visit me, the day before I died. And she said, I wasn't able to talk to her or open up my eyes, but can you just let her know that I knew she was there and I heard her? And I woke up. And so the next morning I was sitting at the breakfast table eating breakfast, and my mom was in the kitchen with me, and it was her mother. And I said, I had this really strange dream about Granny last night. And she's like, oh, really? And I told her about my dream. And she just looked at me like, how do you know that? And I'm like, what do you mean? She said, Dottie did go visit her, and she was upset because she kind of got there too late. And she goes, how do you know that? And I'm like, I don't know. She just came to me in a dream and said that. So that was my one time, like, having a dream of feeling like it was a visitation. And then probably in 2005, 2006 is really when the paranormal shows started coming about. And so myself and my boys, we would sit and watch them religiously. Like, that was our family time. And so we watch all the different ones. And then there was a team, it was like a team here in Delaware. Like, they were called like Delaware Walking Tours or Delaware Ghost Walking Tours. I forget what they're called, but they used to do like walking tours, like in Old Newcastle, Cooch's Bridge. And they just take you around, and you would have the dowsing rods, and they tell you spooky stories. So we started doing that, and that was fun. And then they held like public investigations up at Rockwood. So we did that. We did an overnight, and it just kind of really wanted to keep my interest going of like, really, what happens to you after you pass away? Is it a blank void, or is there something better after you pass away? I don't know. So I just had an interest in learning more about the paranormal. And then next thing you know, I saw Delaware Ghost Hunters was recruiting. And so I applied and had a very short over-the-phone interview, and they were like, you're in. And so
Awesome.
That's how I ended up there and been there ever since.
Very cool. Very cool.
Kick it out.
All right.
You want to go, Mo?
I'll go. I was always interested in it. You know, my sisters and I always like watched scary movies, read spooky stories. You know, we like the whole like tell a ghost story at night kind of thing. And then we were interested in just anything and everything. I'm kind of old. We used to watch, you know, Unsolved Mysteries, In Search of, any Bigfoot stuff that was on. We were watching it. So I never had any experiences, but when the ghost shows started going on, and then like I did those walking tours that Gina mentioned, and obviously went to the fort with the ghost hunters. But yeah, that was like I didn't have any experiences before I joined the group, so it was all just I was always interested in it, but
Yeah.
not because I had any past experience or haunted house, anything like that.
Very cool.
And what got me into it, there's probably a few things that got me into it. First off, growing up as a kid, my mom loved Halloween, and it rubbed off on me. I mean, she used to go all out and make my face up for some scary skeleton, and she'd go all out. And I ended up just falling in love with Halloween. And I remember being a little kid going to the video store, if anybody remembers those places. But
I
The
don't
best
know.
places.
yeah, they were. I wish that we still have video stores. I was always like, as a 6-year-old kid, fascinated with the horror movie section. I love the covers of the movies, and I was always just attracted to that scary side that you're not supposed to be attracted to.
And Kyle, I have to ask you a question really quick.
Sure.
So please tell me, weren't the cheesy blockbuster movies the best? Like the
yeah.
super cheesy ones?
Yeah, we just I still to this day have friends over once every week or two, and we have a horror movie night. We just watched Killer Donuts, and it's a movie about donuts that kill people, and it's hilarious. It's so
That's
bad.
real life.
We try to watch a good movie and a bad movie, and it covers all bases of horror. But so yeah, I remember being a little kid telling my mom I want to watch this movie, and she said no, it's going to scare you, and I'm like, no, I want to watch it, and it would scare me, and I have nightmares about it. But it was like the thrill. It's like a quick, sudden chill, and I loved having that feeling, and then it goes away. So then the ghost shows come out, and me being skeptical, I always questioned them. I always felt like, they're probably embellishing some things here and there. And I wanted to see these things for myself. And when, oh gosh, it was probably 18-ish, there was this old abandoned house on a back road by where I grew up in Middletown. And this abandoned house, I swear, every time we drove by it, there was a red light up in the top window, and it freaked everyone in the car out. We would drive by it. We would make a habit of saying, "Hey, let's go see the red light," and it fascinated. It was there, clear as day. There's a red light up in that abandoned house. So, like I said, I want to see these things. I want to draw my own conclusions. I pulled over one time. I said, I'm going into the house. And everyone's like, oh my God, don't do that. And I'm like, I want to see what's up there. And I walked up there, and turns out that the house, I guess, caught on fire. Like, you could tell there was a fire in the house, and that's why it was abandoned. But I went up the stairs, and I went up to that room, and there was nothing in the room.
No red light.
No red light.
I thought you were going to give us a plot twist, like it's just been slowly burning down over time, and that's what the red light was.
It's still on fire.
Well, here's what it was, because I was trying to figure this out. I mean, my eyes can see it. I can focus on it. It's not something you see in the corner of your eye, like a lot of paranormal experiences, and it's gone. I'm focused on it. I can see it. Everyone can see it. come to find out, it was the reflection of the glass on the window up there from our taillights is what it was.
Oh my
Oh
God.
my
Uh-huh.
God.
Way to debunk.
Rookie.
This is just it's what fascinated me about it. And you watch all these paranormal shows and everyone kind of tells you how ghosts are. And the more I watch, the more I realize it's really more on what you think. There is no science to it. There are no definite answers to it. So what I tell a lot of people on our tours is you go out and try it and you have to draw your own conclusions. No one can tell you you're wrong. And that's exactly why I joined the team. I wanted to draw my own conclusions. I wanted to figure everything out and see what was real, what wasn't, kind of make up my own, I guess, summary of what I thought was actually happening. That's exactly what I've done. I have all sorts of different theories about different rooms in the fort, different people, how spirits will interact with certain people, and it's all from being on the team. So all that is why I joined.
I love that though, because I think you hit so many good nails on the head and kind of like brings us to like our next topic is kind of talking about the fort a little bit. Can we maybe give our audience right now just a little general synopsis of the fort's history and then maybe get into a little bit of maybe some of your favorite areas and why?
Sure. So Fort Delaware is located out on Pea Patch Island, which is in the middle of the Delaware River. So you can only get over there by ferry.
You could swim.
You could swim. The current will take you downstate. The fort is not open all year round. It opens up in April, and then it pretty much closes down by end of September. And then it, of course, stays open on the weekends for the paranormal tours. But it was built just to be a kind of protection for the ports of Wilmington and Philadelphia. So it was never intended to be a prison camp for Confederate soldiers. It kind of ended up being that way. But that wasn't what it was intended for. And then when the war started, it became a prison for Confederate soldiers. And what you see today at the fort is just like literally like a quarter of what was actually on the island during the time of the war, and probably less, like not even a quarter. Like there was a whole entire village on that island. It was, they had the fort, you had many prisoner barracks, you had school, you had a hospital, you had houses, it was literally like an entire village on that island, which when you go to the fort, if you go into the visitor center, there's a diorama there and you can see where everything was. But then after the Civil War, then they kind of had it back into as a garrison again. So once the prisoners were gone, became the kind of a garrison again for World War I and World War II. And then after that, it kind of just went to crap. And they actually took a lot of the steel out of the fort, like the steps and stuff, to use for ships during the war. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And so then the parks eventually, I think the parks took it over in 1951.
Wow.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of history there. That's crazy. I didn't know some of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what are some favorite places around the fort that you guys have had some, profound experiences, or places maybe even that you just like the energy there?
Well, when people come over to the tours, because the fort there is parts of it where it's extremely unsafe. And we've been investigating there. I've been personally investigating there for 16 years. So there is definitely areas that we take guests to during the tour. So like, I think 7 areas or something like that. So all those areas, the mess hall, the ordnance, the officer's kitchen, general chef's office, the laundry room, the casemates by the laundry room, battery tour bit, casemates, the south casemates, the upstairs NCO barracks, the other officers' quarters. Those are all in the prisoner barracks in the back. Those are all areas we take guests to. There are sections of the fort that you can open up a door and there have been no floor. So
Don't open doors.
why we always, especially me, when guests arrive, are emphasizing you have to stay with your group, because
Yeah.
you wander away, you could wander into another group's location while they're trying to investigate, which is going to piss them off, or
Yeah.
you wind up falling through a floor or not, there is no floor. And so we really want to keep people safe and keep them together.
Yeah.
When the team and I go out over the summer, we do an overnight, and usually it's one park staff that hangs with us, and then it's just the team and we're all out there. So we pretty much have free run of the fort. My personal favorite areas are like the South Casemates, Battery Torbit. They're kind of dungeony looking. People think they're the dungeons.
Yeah.
They're not the dungeons, but I think there's a lot of energy in there. But a couple years ago on an overnight, we had some crazy activity up in the officers' quarter that was very unexpected and caught us off guard. So
Did it?
I mean, that's for me. Kyle seems to have great luck over by the laundry room. I don't.
Yep.
Kyle, are you buddies with the ghosties?
It all, like I said, some of the conclusions I've drawn is there are certain rooms that are going to give more activity to the people that are giving the tours there. And aside from that, I think that there could be certain people in my groups that, the spirits want to interact with more than others. It could be some way they're related. It could be that, maybe they were in the army or the military, things like that. But yeah, I mean, I would say the laundry, the first few years I did the tours were I was just getting so much activity in there. And I have to say in the last few years, I think it's died down for me. I think the laundresses are tired of me at this point. So they've they seem to like interacting with younger people, though. I know when Trey did the laundry room, he got a lot of activity. So I don't know, but laundry's a good one. I love officers' quarters. I love Battery Torbert. And I love the ordinance. One cool story about the officers' quarters, and this was like something out of a movie. I had a tour coming through, and there was a boyfriend and a girlfriend, and the girlfriend was really into this, and the boyfriend was not at all interested. Thought the whole thing was stupid. And I'm walking them through the bedrooms up in the officers' quarters, and she stopped and she said, something doesn't feel right over in that corner. I don't want to go over there. And he's like, there's nothing over there. And she's like, yeah, but I got a really weird feeling. I just, something's telling me not to go over there. And he said, babe, ain't nothing over. And right when he said nothing over, I swear the door slammed in his face, and the entire tour watched it happen. And I kid you not, he turned around and knocked his girlfriend out of the way, running out of the room. And I'm telling you, it's like something out of a movie that really happened on our tours. The entire tour watched it happen. So
that's nuts.
It's karma right there.
Yeah.
The funniest part is that when we do have experiences, and then we all get back together in the pavilion, and Gina always says, did anybody have any experiences? No one ever wants to say anything. They're all silent. This is literally what you paid for, to come and try and see a ghost and have some experiences.
And they don't say nothing.
I was in Battery Torbert with a group. I remember it was 5 women. It was me and one of the park staff. And we went into one of the rooms, and there was a tiny little bit of light coming from outside, so you could see the shape of the window against the wall. And there's literally nothing in this room. It was a powder magazine. So we're standing there, and I see this figure move into the light against the wall, and you can clearly see it's the shape of a man. And my first thought was Kyle standing outside the window, and I turned around and there's nobody there, so I go running out to see nobody anywhere. It's just us. So we go back in, and they're like, "What were you looking at?" I go, watch over here. So I turned sideways so I could look at the wall. I could look out the window. And this thing literally walked back in, and everybody just went, somebody's standing right there. I'm like, yeah, someone's standing. And it was like he was looking at us. Like, what the heck? They were freaking out. We all go back to the and Jeannie goes, anything? And they're all like, this is what people want to hear.
Why do you think that is?
Yeah, it's like they're afraid people are going to make fun of them.
Yeah,
Like, you're all here.
I do. I think they're embarrassed to admit that they saw something.
Yeah. And by the way, Andy's usually the one trying to scare people every once in a while.
Yeah.
So I gotta watch out for you.
Well, actually,
if
when Daryl was out with us on the 4th, he and I went into Battery Torp at this one area. You were in there with us, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Andy had been talking about seeing this man, like a shadow figure of a man, which we've seen a lot.
That was just the guy.
Down this one area. And so the group kind of meanders down this long, dark hallway. Daryl's walking ahead, and he's got his flashlight, and he's looking. He stops, and then he sees his man ahead of him make a turn to the left, like go around the corner. So Daryl follows him to see what's there. No man.
Nobody.
So Daryl comes walking back up, and very nonchalantly, he's like, I think I just saw your ghost.
He's like, found your ghost. Listen, I've seen him twice tonight already.
We've seen him a lot in there.
So who do you guys have any theories on like who it could be? You think it's just like a soldier? You think has anyone ever caught any like distinctive features?
He's big. He's tall. I think he's a pretty big guy.
Oh God!
I've never.
God bless me.
Never seen any features. They're all just black figure. You can tell that it's a man, but you can't.
Yeah, make out a face.
They're literally just black. The first time I ever saw one, like when you watch the ghost shows and stuff, they'll be sitting in the dark and they'll say, "Oh, there's a shadow over there." And I used to think, how in God's name do you see a shadow when it's dark? The first time I saw one, it was dark.
There's difference.
Beyond dark. I mean, it's just standing up in the dark, and you're looking right at it like the lights are on. I'm like, holy moly! So
it's so funny that you said that because my husband. So I've seen shadows before, and usually, like when spirit is present, like I'll wake up. I'm like, oh my God! I'm like, I just want to try and sleep. Like I'm not trying to do this right now. He's like, what are you saying? And I'm like, you don't see the person right there. And he's like, no. And I'm like, it's a shadow. Like you don't see the shadow out. He's like, no. And I'm like, all right. I'm like, I'm going back to bed. And he's like, well, how do you see something in the dark that's dark? And I'm like, but you don't understand. I'm like, there's dark, and then there's like dark. Like it's not even it's not a color in like the gray to black scale. Like it's just
crazy.
It's crazy.
You can see
And I'll give you the one time that I've seen a shadow. I've only seen one once. Only because me being me, if I see it in the corner of my eye, I just can't say I saw a shadow. If that's what most people see. It's so quick. It's like right over in the corner, and it's like I don't know if that was real. But when I was in the casemates, and the casemates usually does not give me much activity, but when I was in there, I was walking with Debbie in our group, and we're both walking. She's a little more sensitive. She is more of a sensitive side. And she said she felt like she could hear men talking down the other end of the hall. So I shine my flashlight up, and I'm like, what, right over there? And in the flashlight, you can see a shadow. So I'm stopped, and now I'm focused on it. I'm watching it. It's a shadow in my flashlight. I move the shadow, or the flashlight, and the shadow is just standing in the light. And then I take one step forward to kind of get a closer look, and that thing, I could see legs step out of my flashlight, and then it was gone. Mm-hmm. It's the only time I've seen a shadow. But I mean, clear as day. I mean, I was able to focus on it. I tried to dissect the whole situation, and I have no explanation for that. So,
But see, those are the moments that I truly think are what
Mhm.
compel investigators to keep
Oh, yeah.
after it. It's what makes you chase it, because
Mhm.
it's like how, you have, I think it's always important to have skeptics, but I do think to a certain extent that like you have, like, how, if you can't debunk it, like what other choice do you
Mhm.
have than to be like, all right,
Mhm.
what is, what is
What is
this?
it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, it's fun trying to debunk.
it is.
Yeah.
It's
And-
like, okay, this is what we saw, and we will spend
Mhm.
forever trying to figure these things
Mhm.
out. And you just like, this is it. And then finally somebody will be like, wait a minute, what if we do that? And then you go, that's what it was.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Until
Yeah.
none of us can do that, and we go, I don't know.
Have you ever heard the theory ghost hunting is like fishing? Have you ever
Yeah.
heard that?
Yeah.
I have not.
Yes, they say ghost hunting is like fishing. So you sit and you wait. You throw your line out there and you sit and you wait and you wait and you wait and you hope to get a bite. And when you do, you're so excited that you want to keep doing that.
Mhm.
Like you want to
Yeah.
keep fishing.
Gamble.
That's actually that's really good. I never
Mhm.
thought of it like that.
Yeah.
The people will come out, a lot of them will come out, and they've watched ghost hunters and all that stuff, and everything happens in an hour. So they're
Yeah.
expecting a lot of times to come in for 20 minutes in a room and go, well, nothing happened. I go, yeah, but you got to sit here for another 3 hours or 4 hours. And
Yeah.
hopefully you get
Right.
something. And then when we're giving evidence back, like we have a client, we go to a house or something, we have a client, we're not showing them 18 hours of video. We're showing them the, 15 seconds of what we got.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We were there the whole time, and we got, 8 cameras we got to go through. And
Mm-hmm.
so the shows make everybody think it's just bang, bang, bang. You go in and you come out. They think they're in there for an hour and they're leaving.
Right.
And they're in there for a week.
Yeah.
So kind of like to Kyle's point, like another thing that I kind of wanted to pick your brains on is like I also have this theory kind of basing off of like My Haunted Manor, like what they've kind of done with that longevity thing.
Yeah.
You guys have been at the fort for so long, and I feel like we often hear you want to treat sorry, 1 second.
You want to drink something?
I gotta get a little water in. So like you often hear about treating ghosts, with respect, treating them as if they're human, they're here, they're alive. Well, like if somebody just walks into your house and starts asking like 50 million questions, I'm not gonna be like, hey, here's my name, my number, my social security, like I'm gonna be like, why are you in my house and why are you like berating me with questions? So I feel like after a certain point, it's kind of neat to establish that relationship and
Mhm.
do that longevity. And I feel like a lot of people, that instant gratification kind of generation, they want to
Mhm.
go in, they want to be scratched and, pushed and it's all this crazy stuff. And it's like you're missing the true beauty of like building this relationship with these spirits and truly getting intelligent responses. And so like, how do you guys feel about being at the fort as long as you've had? Like, I know Kyle touched upon it reacting to certain people for certain things. Do you feel like you have connected with certain spirits, even if you don't necessarily know who they are or maybe have identified them, but maybe connected, with the shadow people per se? Do you see them more often now than you did then?
I'll say I don't think that I don't know that there's a connect, like some sort of spiritual connection with them, but just the simple fact that I've been going there every year for 15 years is like I have had experiences, and the more you do it and the more open you are to it. I was just telling my parents were asking me some questions the other day, and I was like, I think that being skeptical and not, even though I was like, I loved these kinds of things when I was a kid, even now stuff happens and I'm like, wait a minute, did that really happen? Now I saw a shadow figure a couple weeks ago at the fort in the casemates, but I'm still like, did I see it? Was it just a trick of the light? I don't, it's still like
It's always a question.
it's hard when it's just you. When there's other
Yeah.
people around and somebody else sees it or somebody else hears it, what you're hearing, like,
It
whenever
validates it.
something's going on, yeah, and you're like, you hear that, right? Yeah, like we always look at each other like we're not crazy, right? We're hearing it, like even though we've been working together for so long. But yeah, I just think I don't know, personally, I don't have like, I mean, we talk to the ghosts in the kitchen, Miss Susan. You know, we use a name, and I like to
That's
think
kind of
that
like what I'm
she's-
wondering. Like Miss Susan, like is there?
Yeah.
It's
She
hard to kind of
remembers
word
us,
that,
yeah.
but do you have like spirits that like you've connected with that you weren't getting responses from when this first started, but now over that longevity that seems to be becoming like a theme word in the paranormal is the longer that you investigate at a certain spot and you
Yeah.
kind of keep at it, you start to
Mhm.
get more intelligent responses. You start to connect with possibly the same spirit repeatedly and more often. So I kind of wanted to see how that's going for you guys, because you guys have been here for a really decent amount of time.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
a lot of the energy at Fort Delaware is residual.
Mhm.
Like the man that we've seen in
Mhm.
Battery Torbit, I don't know
That he knows we're there.
that he knows we're there.
He doesn't
Mhm.
interact with us.
We've heard him, we've seen him
Seen
walking, we've heard him walking, we've heard him talking, but it's almost like he's not talking to us. He's
Right.
not getting our attention. Like he's not like, oh, there's Gina and Andy. Let me come say hi. You know, I think he's just
Yeah.
going about doing his thing, and I think that's the energy at the fort where it kind of, you know, just I think depending on who's there and even the fort staff, like sometimes when we're in a room, because each group is led through the fort by a historical interpreter who works there over the summer. And so the group gets a little bit of history to each location they're going to. All right. And then they're met up with a DSGI team member. Some of the historical interpreters, one in particular, Sean, he's been working the tours with me since 2009. So I have been in the kitchen and it seems pretty quiet. I'm not getting a lot of activity. He can walk in a room and boom, everything starts going off. And I think it's almost like we know him.
Yeah,
You know, we recognize
Yeah.
him. I think with me,
I think the same thing happens in the kitchen with Sarah.
yeah.
It's almost always every time she comes in there, because she
Mhm.
works in that kitchen all
Yeah.
summer long.
Yeah.
So
But I think a lot of the energy at the fort is residual.
Mhm.
And they don't really care if we're there or not. But
Yep.
Yeah.
I do, to your point though, Morgan, when you're saying about showing the respect when groups show up, you know, like Andy said, they expect that for $60, we're going to guarantee that they're going to have a paranormal experience on their 3-hour tour when it doesn't work that way. So I
Yeah.
tell people all the time, first of all, ghosts owe us nothing. They do not need to entertain us. We are in their house. And so just like somebody showing up to your house unannounced and they expect you to not only welcome them in, but entertain them.
Yeah.
Same thing there. I mean, they don't need to entertain us. And so I always try to drive that point home and say, look, if you walk out of here tonight and you didn't have an experience, at least take appreciation that you got to investigate in the dark Fort Delaware, a very
Yeah.
historical haunted location, but we have no control over when things are going to happen.
Plus, just being there.
But it's
at
so
night
cool.
is so
Like just
awesome.
enjoy your night. Like take fun in it, you know? So
Yeah.
One-
Yeah,
one-
absolutely.
One
Mhm.
thing I do before every tour, I don't even know if I've admitted this to any of you guys, but before every tour,
Here we
I
go.
walk around whatever room it is that I have for the night, and I kind of just say out loud, "Hey, I would love to hear from you guys tonight. I don't expect it,
I do the
But-
same
I
thing,
do
Kyle.
too.
I do the same thing.
but
I do.
it would be awesome if you can. If not, if it's tonight's not the night, no big deal. I'm just happy to be here." And I kind of say that out loud.
I do that
Yeah.
too.
I guess I kind of whisper it so no one will hear me, but
I do. I do loud. I don't care.
No, I do that too. And so,
I do it.
yeah, it's
that's why I always disappear a little bit right before the
Mhm.
tour. That's usually what I'm doing.
You literally have to tell people, like, when they come to investigate, and it is their investigation. We're there to
guide them.
help out and lead it if they want, but
Mhm.
a lot of them just want to investigate on their own and kind of stuff. But so many of them are so afraid to say anything.
Mhm.
Like, I go, if you got a recorder, you got to like, what do we do with the K2? You hold it, and well, how do we get it to light up? You ask them to light it up. Can you come and touch it? No one wants to talk to things in the dark, so I literally have to tell them, I know you feel stupid, but this is how it works. I go, when I first started, I felt stupid sitting in a room. I was going, is anybody here? Can you go touch that? If you want to?"
Andy goes in, he's like, "Hey, spirits, it's me, your boy."
He is a big
No, I honestly, though, is kind of speaking to that from like another side too, is like I didn't realize it until like my first investigation, even just a couple of investigations in now. Like when I first started doing it, I can kind of see that side of like if you have people coming into this, that it's for them, it's entertainment, it's to be scared and spooky, and it feels awkward talking to something that you can't see. So like I remember like they were like, "Morgan, ask a question." I was like like I had like a Ricky Bobby moment. I'm like, what do I do with my hands? Like I was like, I don't know what to, I'm like, what do I say? So like I was like, I don't know what to say. So it's funny because then it's like I said, I just went to Lizzie Borden recently and I was with a bunch of younger kids and they were kind of just standing there with like the EMF reader and they're like, what does it do? I'm like, it's gonna light up. It's gonna be so spooky. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, it's gonna, and they're just kind of standing there like, what's gonna happen? I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, maybe not a whole lot, maybe something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it's like, I saw that and I'm like, I can totally empathize because I remember my first investigation. I was just like, oh my God, this feels so strange. It's just weird.
And people don't know what kind of question to ask.
Yeah.
What do we ask?
And I usually tell the first group of the night, in my experience of doing these tours, the people that make an attempt, that try to interact, that put the effort in, are usually the ones who get activity. I get it. A lot of you think this is awkward, and it's kind of a goofy feeling. But you know what? You're here for a couple hours. Try to make the most out of it. Try to interact, and you have a better shot of having some activity if you try. That's what I've seen. So that's what I always advise.
I do think they feed off energy too, and if you get a group of people who just stand there staring at the walls, it's nothing's going to happen.
We had a group into the laundry room the other night with me and Adam, and Adam and I are standing there. We're like, "Hey guys, come on in, welcome." We're trying to be all like, "Let's do this," and their energy was like.
That's the worst. That's the worst.
There and Adam's like, "How you guys doing tonight?" And it was like, no
like, woo.
And so Adam, being Adam, goes, "I'm really not feeling this energy night tonight. So for the money you paid, you need to pick it up." And it kind of like he did laugh at that, thankfully. So,
but the way nothing was
nothing was really happening. But still, it's like you don't want the groups to be obnoxious, but you want them to be
interactive.
Yeah. I do feel like it's definitely like a scale. It's either like super quiet, nothing, or then like you get the people that walk into like a haunted house and they like smacking the dolls and they're oh, there's nothing here. And then they're the ones I'm like,
those are the ones you hope get really scared.
Yeah, I'm like, listen, if a ghost bites your ass when you're running up the stairs, I have no sympathy for you. I'm like, you know what happens happens. Yeah.
I wish there was a way to
never had a ghost bite my ass.
There's a first for everything.
I'm curious. Who in our group would be most likely to have their ass bit by a ghost now?
You.
It would not be me. I think it'd be Fred.
No, but yeah. So I have another kind of. So I always try and ask at least one hot take question, and I know Rachel's gonna be like, "Oh God." So, how do you guys feel about the paranormal and social media? What are your thoughts?
Oh gosh,
do you feel like it's
like? What do you mean?
That's interesting. Are you talking about like people posting pictures of like, "Hey, look what I got"?
I think like kind of just from people who I would consider you like very experienced investigators, watching some of our younger investigators and this, so like I'm so happy that the paranormal is not as stigmatized anymore and it's so much more talked about and celebrated. I love that. But I've always said on this podcast, it's a double-edged sword because it's like a really great thing. But then sometimes I feel like social media you will see like bad habits, I guess is what I'll call them.
Yeah.
So do you feel like social media is helping the paranormal or could sometimes be hindering it, like the progress?
I don't know.
It's
really hurting.
it's definitely spreading the word. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the interest in the paranormal field is because of social media. I do think a lot of, in a lot of the Facebook groups I'm in, I see a lot of people trying to present evidence, and it's like clearly not, and it's definitely forced. A lot of people just want to have that. So my take is, if I think it's fake, I don't put negativity on social media ever.
Just go past it.
I just move on. Like if I think it's fake, I just leave it alone. I'm not a fan of people posting negativity all over social media. I hate.
Yeah.
I hate that that's happening so much.
Yeah.
I'll go the opposite way though. Not
She'll just
negative.
bash them.
No, I'm not. I don't bash anybody, but every once in a while I get on and I see like a picture or a video, and it's very obviously not paranormal. It's something else. It's like something that we absolutely know, that happens. A lens flare or this. It's dust. It's whatever.
Yep.
And I will say it now. It's with everything else in life. Those that want to know about it and learn will accept that. Yeah. And those that don't are just like, no, you just, and we're not even, because there are people out there that pick apart everything. They pick apart every single, they'll have an excuse for every single paranormal piece of evidence, that everybody has. And they're out there, but
that's written a book.
Paragraph.
I think this is a good comment, though. I think it's a good comment. Christy says, I think social media feeds a lot of confirmation bias. We see what we want to see based on very personalized algorithms. With the paranormal, it feels like some people want validation and other people want to poke fun, and we have an opportunity to educate. So that's kind of like what I'm getting at. That's very well said. Awesome. Kudos, Christy.
And that's what I feel like I want us to do. We'll tell people this is, this is dust, this is this, but I'm not mean or negative to anybody, but I don't want people, because then that feeds the quote unquote skeptics who are just the complete, they don't want to believe anything. They just want to pick apart. That feeds them, because people put stuff up there that isn't.
Yeah,
I don't think anyone in our group is really negative in that aspect at all.
No, you guys are like the cutest, like just sweetest paranormal group. I just love y'all. I love the little.
You have no idea, my friend.
Well,
I love it.
We had a woman that came on one of our tours, I think the first weekend, and she was taking a bunch of pictures, very, very, very into the paranormal. And she sent us some pictures, and she sent us this picture of a window up in the officers' quarters.
From far away.
From far away.
So it was good looking on her point.
Yeah, and she was like, look, I've caught a little girl with long hair, bangs, and a high collar ruffle in the window. She's like, I'm so excited to have this piece of evidence. It's
it was scariest looking person.
So she sends us the picture for our, I guess, to just show us that she got this picture. I'm looking at the picture and I'm going, it's Melissa, Kyle's wife.
Yeah,
she had her hair in braids.
I told you.
Cap on, and she had her DSGI hoodie, and you could see kind of the letters. So I sent it to Andy, and I'm like, "You look at that."
Dang it, Melissa.
He goes, "It's something, but it's not a little girl." And I said, "No, it's Melissa." So we ended up, since Andy's the artist, he actually drew it out and explained.
I go, here's her baseball cap, here's her braids, here's her DSGI. Literally standing in the window, but from far away, I said I can see what you would think. You could think that if you didn't.
Absolutely.
You look at a picture and you go,
"We know her."
Still the scariest ghost.
She didn't know Melissa, so she's seeing something a little different.
She was like, "Oh, thanks for doing that. I thought I got something. Darn, I keep trying. That's right. You keep trying."
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
But
but that's
Melissa, on the other hand, Melissa is only a foot tall. She wears ruffles a lot. So, I can see where
She can be scary.
Melissa, we
too.
love you. I don't know you, but you seem wonderful.
She's a
Oh,
good
I love her to death so much.
Is she listening in the other room?
No, she's actually at chorus practice tonight. So
What?
she's,
Oh.
yeah, I don't know if she's ever told you. She's a classically trained opera singer, so she's
What?
she joined a chorus recently with
That's so
our
cool.
neighbor. So yeah, she's at the
gosh.
concert. I'm sure she's going to listen to this later though. But if she were here right now, we're nothing but smart asses to each other all day long.
Really?
That's cool that she sings opera, though. I wish I could sing opera. I probably sound like a beach whale.
Yeah,
It would probably not come out very good.
Well, do you do karaoke at all?
No.
Well,
Listen, I'm brave. I'm not that brave.
That's
Karaoke.
the first step. You got to try karaoke.
No.
Oh. Well, listen, if I ever decide to try karaoke, I'm going to phone you all up. And you
Good
guys
luck.
are going to be my first group that I do it with.
We'll wear it
And while you do it, we'll all sit there and watch.
Sounds
Yeah,
like
make
a
sure you
plan.
bring noise canceling headphones.
Is that a beach whale? Tell that whale to shut up. I'm trying to listen.
Oh my
We are
gosh.
nutty.
I love it though. I like peeps that I can laugh with. You need to have a sense of humor, especially
my
like
God.
sarcasm, a little morbid too.
Yeah.
Oh
ours is
yeah, yep.
long too.
So a classic question that a lot of people I feel like ask this time of year, and I'd love to get your take on it, is how do you feel about the holidays and certain, I guess we could even really pose this as trigger items too. Like, do you think that they trigger and influence the energy at the fort? So like Halloween, I don't know if there's a train nearby. I don't know if you have certain objects. Are there little things like that that you feel possibly influence the energy upticks or lack thereof?
I think the only trigger object we ever use is we believe that there are children in the officers' quarters.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So we will bring little toys, little pieces of candy,
Mm-hmm.
put them on the table and try to get them. And actually, Jeff it was like 2 years ago, I think, was sitting at the table in the officers' quarters, and someone was sitting, and they were rolling a ball back and forth. And there's a little like candlestick or a little bowl of fruit or something on the
The
table.
wax fruit.
And he rolled it across, and it stopped, and it rolled back and went around the bowl of fruit and back to him. So
What?
yeah, I think they filmed that too.
Yeah, Jeff might have
Oh
it.
my gosh.
So
That would be really cool to
Yeah.
see that.
but I've never used trigger objects anywhere.
Yeah. We've
actually,
used candy
other than-
even downstairs, like by the kitchen area. We used to put candy down there.
Yeah, but
Um,
no.
Okay.
I don't think there's anything really.
I don't think there's a specific time of years where you're going to get more
yeah,
activity.
right.
Marbles.
Yeah. Graham Starfire's our friend Paul. So he often brings marbles when he comes to the fort. And one year,
Because he lost his marbles.
we were in the kitchen for the extended tour. And again, the kitchen is where domestics would work. And there were, kids that lived there in the fort and they would come down, whatever. And so Paul had put a marble down at the end of the table. And he said something to the effect, like, if you can make this marble move, you can have it. I'll leave it for you. And the table's perfectly flat, and nobody was touching it. We were all standing away from it. And we had this one little volunteer girl that didn't say 2 words the whole entire time. She was just like the tail. She helped the fort staff make sure everybody was traveling together in their group. And she was, quiet as a church mouse the whole entire time. So he puts the marble down at the end of the table and he says, if you make this marble move, you can keep it. I'll leave it for you. The marble rolls dead center in the middle of the table and stopped. And we all stood there and watched it. And nobody was touching the table. We were all standing back, but we all witnessed it roll to the center of the table and stop. That little girl, well, I call her little girl, she was probably like in her 20s.
Went out the window.
She was like, holy. That was like
Oh
the
my
two words we heard from her all night.
Don't say bad
my
words. It
gosh.
hurts my feelings.
Mhm. Yeah, that was like that scared the crap out of her, and so we left
Oh
them
my
out.
gosh. All right, so candy and marbles. I'm gonna have to pack like a separate little like offering bag. I'm gonna have to carry a little
Candy,
satchel
marbles.
with goodies.
Yeah.
Yeah, cards. Playing cards. We've never really tried playing cards, but you could probably try playing cards, like especially in the prisoner barracks.
No, but Melissa, her great, I want to say grandfather, and she's going to yell at me because I got it wrong, but he was like one of the assistants to Abraham Lincoln, and he was actually in Ford's Theater when Lincoln was shot, and she has letters that he wrote about the shooting, and it's all a first-hand account. This is like stuff you don't read about in history books. It's a real first-hand account, and it talks about how they did a door-to-door search right after the shooting, and how as he was going around knocking on doors, a stray horse ran down the street, and he ran out and got a hold of the horse, and they found out it was John Wilkes Booth's escape horse, and it's just so cool. But he wrote these letters, and she will bring them to the tours, and she'll read them, and she'll get activity on the meters when she reads these sometimes. So it's interesting. I mean, I can't,
Interesting. That's like the understatement of the year.
yeah, I can't say there's a science behind it. I'm just saying we look for things to try and trigger activity, and that's one of the things that I know she's had some good activity on.
If I was a ghost and somebody brought that kind of like object, I would be doing the Irish jig. I would be making noise. I'd be ringing bells, knocking on walls. I'd be like, what in the world?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Are there any
Man.
other like local Delaware places that you guys like to investigate?
Oh,
Well, we're contracted. We're the contracted paranormal team for Delaware State Parks. So we're actually contracted to do the paranormal tours at Fort Delaware, and then we also do the paranormal. We do a public paranormal tour up at Bellevue Mansion, which is part of Bellevue State Park.
oh. Tell us about that. Tell us about that, because I've heard really cool things.
Yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful old mansion.
Bellevue's awesome.
Yeah, it used to be Fort DuPont home. We started doing those tours back, 2010?
Yeah. Right when I started,
So
we did it in the winter.
you had just started. So the first time we got invited up there, the staff had asked us to come up and do a private investigation. This is before the public. And they're like, can you guys just investigate the manor or the mansion? Because we feel like there's a lot of activity going upstairs in the servants' quarters. Like they felt super uneasy, just all the vibes and, the hair standing on their arms, and they felt like they hear kids up there and see people in the window. So we investigated the whole building. And at one point we separated the guys from the girls. So the female investigators went downstairs to investigate. And then the guys were off in another section. They may have even gone outside. And the downstairs,
they were in the attic. We were down the basement.
Yeah. And so, the basement, we used to call it the man cave because it was supposedly like where DuPont went down there with his, buddies and smoked cigars and drank bourbon. And so watch football. So they were down there, and one of the questions they had, and they had recorders running. One of the questions they asked is, did you do naughty things down here? And there's a male voice going, no.
Clear as a
and they picked it up on all three recorders.
It's a man.
So, and there was no men down there. So when we went back to do the reveal, we were like, well, you have activity here, but what we found that night, and we played that EVP for them, and they were like, oh my God. But we have since, we still continuously investigate there privately. We've been in the basement investigating, all of us, and heard somebody walking across the floors up there, and you thinking, all right, somebody's in the manor, and you go upstairs and there's nobody up there. And the last time that happened with Adam, we were down there and he could hear somebody walking across like the ballroom floor.
What?
So he went upstairs and he's walking towards the front door. Now, mind you, all the lights are out, so it's just like a little bit of ambient lighting. And he goes to the front door to see if somebody's like trying to come in, like he's trying to figure it out, when he heard heavy footsteps come up behind him, and he quick turned around, and again, there was nobody there. So that we've always captured in that building is footsteps,
especially in that room. It's just
especially in that room. Yeah, but we do.
We were there one time. A lot of this, I mean, we've had stuff with guests too, but this is all when we've been by ourselves. The one time we were at the top, there's like a little seating area at the top of the stairs there, and it sounded like a party was going on downstairs.
Oh yeah, that's right.
We went down there and came back up. There's no one down. I mean, there's only like 5 or 6 of us there.
Yeah.
And it was like a whole party was going on downstairs.
I think door shut down there.
Crazy.
And it's interesting because you asked about the fort, if there were specific spirits that we interact with normally. I can't think of any. I think there's so much activity. It's so spread out in the fort that I can't think of anyone that I get a lot of interaction out of multiple times. But in Bellevue, there's a little girl up on that top floor that I've definitely had multiple tours get activity based around the little girl. Heard her laughing, heard the footsteps. I mean, you can't tell if it's a little girl if it's footsteps, but I would say there's a little girl up on the top floor of Bellevue.
She'll play with the music boxes. The last time we were there, we were all in this kind of the same room, and I was turned looking down the hallway, and somebody asked a question about the little girl, and this little tiny, it had to be about 3.5 feet tall, this little shadow just took off right smack in front of me straight down the hall, to where I was like, do I say this because I'm the only one looking? It was enough that I went like, whoa, like somebody's right there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we think she's up there all the time.
So our tours that we do there, we're doing one November 15th. It's a much smaller event, but we're doing it's a public tour, but it's mini paranormal 101. So we go over our equipment. We talk about evidence review. We play audio for them. We play them some EVP clips. And we also show them some pictures that we've captured. And then they get broken out and they get to investigate the whole entire, every floor with us. It's a fun,
feed us.
and they feed us really well. So that's nice.
That's
food is a necessity.
That's one of the places where in that bottom room, the first floor, not the basement, first floor, in the trophy room, we had a tour. I can't remember if it was one of the tour guides or someone in the group, but they asked, can you open the door? And that doorknob turned and the door opened right in front of everyone. It was awesome. And that's happened a couple times on our tours with that same spot. So
wow. And you guys said Debbie, because I remember hearing about her from Trey and Jeff, and I've heard phenomenal things. She's sensitive, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, I would love to meet her. I would love to pick her brain.
Yeah.
Well, she'll be there when you come, so pick it.
Yeah.
Will she really?
Yeah.
So I've been a sensitive since I was a little girl, and I feel like I loved watching her. I think it was her that was walking through my haunted manor in one of their first episodes, right?
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
She just seems so it just seems so awesome the way that she sweeps through and reads everything. So I thought that was really cool.
Well, the cool thing is like when we do private investigations, what we do now is we'll have like half the team that's going to the investigation will know the claims. Like, oh, I see
the history.
The other half won't know anything.
Mm-hmm.
And what we'll do is when we get there, Debbie comes with us. We send her in on her own.
Or she'll go a day before.
And she'll come back and she'll tell us the stuff that we already know. Just
That's awesome. Because then you get that validity.
We did a house in Delaware City, and we sent her in like the night before. And I said to her, just go in, take notes, just write down what you're feeling, and don't share it with us until after the investigation. And so she did that. And, the homeowners knew she was coming, and they knew not to give her a ton of information. And she just, when she does it, you see her at the fort before tours, you just see her kind of walking around, going into a room, standing around, looking at it. And then she walks out, and then she goes, so, she's trying to get in there, So anyway, so she did that for this house in Delaware City. And then we did our investigation. And then after the investigation, we're going through our evidence. We found some interesting things. And then we read her note, what she picked up, and it was exactly what we found. So she definitely has a very special ability. She has read me with no information, and was very, very, very good. I mean, she brought up stuff there was like no way in hell she could know. And the same, I had to read my husband, same thing. I mean, it was just, it blew us out of the water, stuff that she brought up and talked about, and there was no way she knew. So yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm so excited to meet her too. And so how large is your team in total?
Right now we have, I think, 11 or 12.
There's 14 of us if you include Trey and Jeff.
Okay, cool.
Jeff's our videographer. He's, we love him to death.
He came out.
He was just out with us the other night. And then of course, Trey, he's in a unique circumstance right now. So he's still on the team, and he still participates when he can.
He came out 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, he came out a couple of weeks ago. And then, of course, we go up to the manor and hang out with them up there. So, but we are going to start recruiting again early next year.
Oh, awesome. Very cool.
So we'll put advertisements out on our social media and website, and we have to go through this process of interviewing, and it's kind of like a rapid dating session the way we do it.
Speed dating. It's my favorite.
There are certain requirements people have to meet. And so being that we are the contractor paranormal team for the fort, that is the priority. And so, every team member is expected to be at the fort 4 nights. You have to be, unless there's something like, stuff happens, but it's we make it very well known. You have to be there for 4 nights. And then because we are the contractor paranormal team, everybody has to go through a background check. So everybody knew.
But that's good though.
Yeah. And I have to check these guys yearly, which.
This is our background.
I was going to say, show them the fall ambiance that we got going on. So cozy. I love it.
But anyways, so at one point I think we were up to like 18 or 20 of us. It was a lot.
Wow. Yeah, that's a pretty large team.
But
so
we travel.
What are some things that you guys do to help your team? Like, what are some? All right, let me think of how I want to pose this. How do you run a successful investigation team? Like, what are some, principles and characteristics and things that are important to you for keeping a good team?
You have to be committed.
You have to be committed. Number one, respectful. The respect is mutual. So, I would hope these guys know I love them and respect them. And I get that back from them. And it's just, like even when we're not doing an investigation, if something's going on with one of them, health reasons, family issues, I always make a point to reach out to them, go, you okay? Do you need anything? Just being, we're like a family. We truly are. Like these guys are my ghosty family. I always say Maureen's like my sister from another mister, because she's on the team almost as long as I have.
She's your son's other mother.
Yeah, so my son Nat, who you met at my Haunted Manor, he always says Maureen's his other mother. So,
that's
thanks,
nonsense.
Chris. But no, I think it's just you got to have the passion for it. You got to have the commitment for it. And bottom line, it's just about having fun, and being respectful. And that's, I think, what we do really well.
Awesome.
And one of the biggest challenges to running a successful investigation is going through the evidence. Everybody wants to do the investigation. Going through the evidence, it's harder to get people to get on board with that. Andy probably knows it best, sitting and looking at the tapes of nothing happening and nothing happening, and it's tough. But that's one of the things I would tell any group coming up, that if you're gonna go do an investigation, definitely get a team that's going to be not only committed for the investigation, but the follow-up afterwards. That's the tough part. So
yeah, that's actually good advice. That's really good.
Everybody's got stuff going on in their lives. Everybody's busy. I work full time. We all work full time. Well, except for Andy. I'm not really sure. He draws stick figures most of the day. I'm not sure what he really does. But anyways, it's really kind of becomes more than a hobby in a way. It is a full-on commitment. And for me, being one of the founders of the Paranormal Adventure Tours and being there from the very, very beginning of the planning stages, that's my baby. And so that in itself, just dealing with parks and, their questions and challenges and all the stuff that goes in behind the scenes, it's like my other job. So,
Well, and also when you were asking about the social media stuff, we have a reputation, and you got to keep the reputation. If we go into somebody's house and we investigate, we act like idiots or something, and we don't bring any evidence back to them because we don't feel like looking at it, it's going to get out there. And it comes back to us. Nobody cares.
And Delaware is a small state.
Well, community, it goes out there fast.
Yeah,
knew all about us before we even met them.
Yeah.
So
well, that's one of the things he said when Daryl and I first started talking about a year ago. That was what he said to me, because I didn't really know much about you guys. I knew you did the tours, and he goes, and you have a really good reputation in the paranormal field. And he goes, I'm so glad you finally called me, to talk. And I'm like, he's like, how come you didn't call me before now? And I'm like, because I'm like a peon paranormal investigator, and you're like a celebrity ghost hunter. I didn't call you before now, but
you guys really do have a good reputation, though. I do want to say that, because it's funny when I mentioned, I've had people ask, who's coming up on the podcast, and who I said, we're doing one with DSGI, and they were like, I'm tuning in for that one. I was like, I'm excited about this. I'm like, I've heard amazing things, just not even from our interactions, but just from the community in general, especially in a community that can be sometimes a little bit on the negative side. It's really refreshing to just hear, you guys have changed the community. A lot of people love you. They enjoy you. So I think that that's so amazing. It's true. Proof is in the pudding.
Yeah. I mean, we're not going to tell anybody something paranormal when it's not. We're just not. And so
it's Melissa.
We will go to great lengths to figure out what is the cause of something, and then really it takes us a lot to go, okay, that's not normal. So we're always very upfront. I think we come off, we're very, empathetic to people and their needs, especially when they're scared to death to be in their own house because something paranormal is going on. Sometimes they just need somebody to talk to. But I think just that we're a friendly group, we're an outgoing group, we're a respectful group, and we love what we do. I think that speaks volumes.
That's a big thing. Yeah. We love it,
and everybody in the group brings something different. It really is a tree, and there's different branches of our group, and when you bring it all together, it really.
We were literally talking about that on the boat the other day. That between all of us, there's nothing we can't do.
Yeah. You have people that will bring the comedy relief to the group. You have people that are the serious ones. You have the ones that love the historical part of it. You have the ones that draw their theories. You have the ones that love the equipment and bring it all together. And there's DSGI. And you saying what you just said about people respecting us and showing their appreciation, that is really awesome. I'm really happy to hear that.
Yeah, that means a lot.
I can't thank you guys enough for putting this together, and for anyone that is supporting our group. It really does mean a lot. So
It does.
for sure.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
We're coming to your house. We're going to investigate. For what?
Yeah.
So you guys touched on residential. So before we kind of wrap up here, do you guys have any like some really good spooky stories from some of your more residential cases that you can kind of give us? Maybe that were a little daunting, a little scary, a little freaky.
Freaky.
I don't.
There's one house.
Freaky.
Oh, Kessin, that we almost have an open door invitation to investigate this. This place is outrageously haunted,
And the homeowners are amazing people.
Oh,
We
God.
love them to death.
and it's just every single time we go in there, it's just the activity is unbelievable, and it's nothing compared to what they live through. They tell us the stories, and I'm like, how do you live here?
How do you sleep?
It blows my mind. She'll wake up and people just stand looking at
She's
her. And I'm like,
sensitive.
how about no?
I was gonna say, when you're sensitive, you kind of learn to live with it. You're just like,
And
Yeah.
their
you
house-
kind of have like a Chris Farley moment. You're like, for the love of God.
Yeah, right. Their house is very old and filled with antiques.
Yes.
And every
Oh.
time we've been there, it's something different. It's almost, it's like, one time it's noises, and another time it's weird lights, and then another time it's
almost
it's
hit
crazy.
you in the head.
We had a hammer fall off a shelf and almost hit me as I was walking by it. It was crazy.
So, Kyle, are you an S magnet?
Sure.
Website that Debbie and I were in the basement.
Yes,
and we
it is.
set up a laser grid. Now, in all the years we used laser grids, I can't really think of too many times we actually caught anything. But she and I were standing, and we had a camera set up pointing to the room that we had this laser grid. And we're just talking, asking questions and stuff. And I happen to look down, and I see on the floor in the laser grid what looks like two little feet walking through the laser. And as I look at it, Debbie goes, "Are you seeing this?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And so she like bends down and is talking to it, because on the SLS
They
we've
believe there is a
seen
little boy down there.
a little kid and a grown up like cuddled in the corner. So she's talking to like, "Can you come back here?" And the little feet came back and forth. And this went on for like 10 minutes. And all of a sudden I go, what if the camera's not catching this? So I pulled out my phone and I videotaped for another 5 minutes. And the cool part is that as you see these little feet go, your first thought is it's a mouse.
Yeah.
Or there's something. So I do the flashlight. There's literally nothing there. So I did it again, and I go, just to show you there's nothing here. I turn on the flashlight, nothing. I turned it off. Boop, 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 boop. They go running away. And we did another podcast, and we sent that clip to them.
Oh, it was Ron and Loris, the Entity Voices.
Satacom.
Yeah,
And-
it's Ron and Loris and
Yeah, and it's some of the other guy.
Tony Rothman
And Sherry.
and they have Entity Voices, and we were on there.
We were showing that clip, and as the clip is playing, he had seen it, and she had it. She literally goes, "It's a mouse," and he just said, "Wait."
Honestly, that video tops anything I've seen with a laser grid on any show
It's on,
ever.
if you go to our website, it's in our evidence vault.
It's insane. There are footprints walking across the grid. And like Andy said, he tried to debunk it. He had time to focus on it, and he shined the flashlight, and you'll see it. There's nothing there. And, regardless whether you believe or not, if you can come up with an explanation for it, By all means,
because it's
go for it.
it's not like, so when you walk through a laser grid, the laser's still on you. So you see that, but you see that motion.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And if it had been a mouse,
You would see.
You would
that's
see
you
it.
would
right.
have seen this dark spot with the laser dot still on it.
Right.
This completely, it like blocks out the laser.
But
Yeah.
and then Steve and Debbie would say, "Can you walk back here?" And it would walk back.
Yeah.
And then it would go like behind the corner, and it would come back out. And this went on for literally 10 minutes until I turned on my phone, which was good because the camera caught nothing.
Yeah.
Well, and I feel like
Yeah.
mice have a different movement too. Like I feel like if you watch somebody walk, like it's a much different movement pattern than like mice are very quick and they're zigzaggy
Yeah.
and like all over
this
the
wasn't
place.
quick.
This was like
Yeah.
a walk with purpose, or a kid like
This
running back
isn't
and
quick.
forth, just
Like little
playing.
little footprint kind of just boop, 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 roll through.
Yeah, but definitely
Mhm.
go on our website and check out the evidence vault.
We got
That
some good stuff.
we got some really good stuff up there, but that video is up there.
Oh dang. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to check that out because I did check your website out. I gotta go through it a little bit more, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Mhm.
You do.
Yeah.
I do.
And hopefully you get your own when you come out to the fort.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I
Yep.
can't wait. I was so excited. I just got I got a little portable laser grid, so I'm like
Oh, nice.
excited to use that. I got some new tools, so I'm excited to use it all.
Mm-hmm.
The very first time I went to the fort was as just part of the public. All I had was a digital recorder.
Yeah.
And I was in Battery Torbert, and I went in a room by myself. My neighbor and I waited till see where everybody else in the group went. And we went the other way. So I was in a room by myself, and I'm standing there, and all I can see is the little light on my recorder. And I'm like, if anybody's here, come and talk to this. Tell me your name, blah, 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 blah. Nothing. I get home and I listen. I got a name. And since then, I've heard 3 times other people. Matter of fact, 2 weeks ago, someone said they have that name. I never tell anybody what the name
Yeah, I
is.
was gonna say don't say it because I want to see if I
Like, oh yeah, I hear that name on blah blah blah. I never tell them, but I've heard 3 times since then that other people got that same name. And
I want to see if I pick it up.
there were 3 people at the fort with that name, but only one of them died there.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh,
it's just
so that's interesting.
yeah. So
Yep.
if you have recorded,
So-
you can do it on your phone. You can record on
Well,
your phone.
see if you pick it up when you're there.
So what I
Yeah.
usually do is kind of similar to Debbie. I did it at my haunted manor, and obviously at the time there wasn't really any history on the place when we first went for the grand
Right.
opening. But I bring a notebook, and my cousin was doing all my freehanding because I was driving there, and I was picking up a lot the closer that we got there. And then when we got there, I gave all of my notes to the team, and I was like, before we start anything, like I literally walked through the door and I handed it to them. I was like, this is how we do. So I'll probably walk around a little bit and I might hand you my notebook so you can kind of browse it, but I'm interested to see if I can pick it up. That'd be really cool.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
And then compared to what we already know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
I appreciate that approach too. That's a really
Yeah.
cool way of trying
Yeah.
to find
I like
stuff.
hearing new ways to do stuff. It's fun.
Mhm.
I like to write things down. I'm more of a writer because like I got that wonderful ADHD gene. So it's like if I don't write it down, it takes off. It's gone.
Photograph
Do you,
things.
do you make lists of things?
Yeah. Yeah, a little bit.
I do too.
But where those lists go when I actually need them, like my grocery list, my shopping list, you write them all out, and then I'm like, I get to the grocery store, I'm like, oh, like funny thing about that list.
Yeah.
Well, I just go down the aisles and push everything in the cart.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And it's even worse because I usually go on an empty stomach too. So it's like come home with like
Oh,
just
you
stuff
buy
that I
way
do
more
not.
that way.
Oh,
Because if I go when I'm full, I don't buy anything. I'm like,
yeah. Well, what's the fun in that?
No,
We only got one life, right? We got to live it up.
Yep.
For sure.
and then I go to one.
No. No, but seriously, I can't thank you guys enough for coming on tonight. I almost feel like we need a part 2 because I still feel like there's so much we have to chat about, but maybe we can do a recap episode after our investigation.
Yeah.
I feel like that could be really fun for us to kind of chat about some of the things.
Nothing happened.
We'll have
Right.
to catch Kyle when he's not traveling.
Yeah.
Oh, you're
Dang
coming
it, Kyle.
right?
Well, I mean, if it's a podcast, I mean, I should be able to
Oh,
jump
you can
on wherever I am.
True.
I mean, I mean, it'd probably be early November. I will be in Savannah.
Oh, I'm jealous.
At the beginning of November.
Savannah.
Yes. So,
Nice.
We'll be glad to do a part 2 with you.
Oh yeah.
Yes, let's make it happen because I feel like it'll be really fun to do it after, especially now that we're going to the fort, like see what we kind of pick up on and what our experiences are like. But I have had such a blast chatting with you guys tonight. It's been so much fun.
It was fun talking to you too.
Thank you.
Yes, yeah.
Thank you,
So
guys.
give everybody your links. Give everybody your links, your website, because we'll tag it down below, but just so for our listeners so that they can hear it if they're listening in on Spotify.
Yeah, it's diamondstateghostinvestigators.com, and then just Diamond State Ghost Investigators on our Facebook and Instagram. And a huge shout out to Christy Mannering, who kills our social media, and she writes the art like after we do a big investigation. We love you too, Trey.
And Christy makes the best cookies.
Oh,
Christy's an amazing.
I have yet to try her cookies. I'm missing out.
You are missing out.
for you to come out on.
Yeah, she's an amazing baker. But seriously, she kills our social media, and she's done a fabulous job with it. And I can't thank her enough. And really, I can't thank all my team members enough because they're just awesome, and I love them.
Lots of love to you guys. Everybody's doing such an amazing job. And again, I do want to shout out Chrissy because she has just been such a love bug and has been so helpful and supportive of even the girlfriend hour. So thank you guys so much for listening in. And if you haven't checked out DSGI, you need to check them out after this episode, like immediately. Otherwise, straight to jail. We're banning you guys if you don't. No, but we hope you guys stay spooky, stay weird, and we love you all. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Have a great night.
Bye.
And we'll talk
See you
soon.
guys.
Bye.
Bye.